Hello and welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast. Today we are trying something new. Due to the insane amount of news from Comic Con in San Diego this weekend, we've decided that the news from the main show will be replaced in today's one-off Comic Con roundup. And I'm joined as usual by, well actually I'm the host today, I'm joined by Chris Garner for a change. Hello.
Yeah, we thought we'd shake it up today for a bit for this special.
I know, it's bizarre reading. I'm normally the one listening waiting for my point, but it's very weird starting one. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot longer than I thought it would be, which is mental. But the way we're going to do it, we're going to hit chronological order. So we'll start with the Thursday night panel, which was Hunger Games. We'll finish with last night's Fox panel with Fantastic Four. And we'll mention one or two news that dropped in the week, i.e. the Batman solo film and the Star Wars anthology film.
Mm-hmm.
So right, first up, what do we have?
First up, we have the Hunger Games teaser trailer, which I saw like 5 minutes before, well, like into the recording. Okay, I'm going to kick off with my thoughts on this. I've never seen any of the Hunger Games films at all. I haven't read any of the books. I know I sort of know the basics on the story. This teaser trailer basically shows nothing. It's like, if you haven't seen it, it's a bunch of sort of stormtrooper looking troops just dancing and doing like insane choreography with their weapons, and then Jennifer Lawrence just like marches through the middle of it, and that's it. Now, if I was like a massive Hunger Games fan and I went to Comic-Con specifically for this to see the new trailer, and this was all I got, I would have felt massively cheated, because this trailer shows you nothing. It's a terrible trailer. It makes it look like some kind of comedy or really cheesy or something, and I don't think that's the tone of the films at all.
No, and I mean, I've read the books, I've seen the films. I'm a big fan of the first two books, and the films I dislike the Mockingjay book, which already has me at a crossing point. Then to split it into it's bizarre in itself, and then I kind of saw this trailer come up on Facebook. I'd seen people tweeting saying that the Hunger Games panel's boring, they're not doing anything. So then this trailer hits, you think, okay, they've wowed it, you know, just under 6 months till release, and I was literally there like, what the hell? It seems like something you'd see in like theatre, and it was just kind of like you just wasted a panel.
Yeah, and you know, you was talking about it being split into two films. That's like the trend now. I don't know if Harry Potter was the one that started it, but obviously we got it with that. We got it with Twilight as well. We'll probably get it with 50 Shades of Grey, and obviously we've got it with this. The second part, I'm assuming, is just going to be like an all-out war, like beginning to end, like the 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever it's going to be, is just going to be like wall-to-wall action from beginning to end. And you know, they could have shown something from that. Like, I'm sure they've got something filmed ready in post that they could have put together. I mean, Star Wars has still got months until that comes out in December, and we've seen loads more from that in a more cohesive trailer than this was. And if this is going to be in theatres, like, this is just terrible for like endorsing your last part of your film.
I know, it's just bizarre because they released a trailer a month ago as well, and you kind of think and goes, did you not want to hold it into a Comic Con?
And I actually think that trailer was better than this one, because that was still somewhat shrouded in mystery, and that was the one with the burning Mockingjay emblem, wasn't it? And like the voiceover you got with it.
Yeah.
I think that played more to the tone of the film than this one did. This one was just weird. It was just strange.
Yeah, I'm not really, I'm looking forward to it to a degree, but I'm not bothered at all. I know the outcome. There's only one scene I'm looking forward to, and I just kind of think they knew the limelight's not going to be on them at all for this convention. So to have them on, I think it was actually the Thursday. So they were the first thing they whopped off, and then on Friday we had the panel. It was very much hyped, which was a success in itself, which was Star Wars. However, before we go into the panel they did, we'll talk about the kind of bigger news, if you want to say, that the second anthology film is going to be a Han Solo origin film helmed by the directors of the Lego Movie and the Jump Street reboot.
Yeah, like obviously this wasn't part of the actual Comic-Con panel. This came out a few days before that, but we thought, because this is going to be basically taking the place of our news section from the main show tomorrow, so we'll just throw it in here. This has been rumoured for quite a while, I think. Like, when Disney first got the rights and they entertained the idea of doing spin-offs and stuff like that, you know, names were thrown out: Boba Fett spin-off, Han Solo spin-off, Obi-Wan, and I think Yoda as well. I think they were the big four that were talked about. And obviously they've talked about an Obi-Wan A Boba Fett one was confirmed, and this is what's kind of threw me off because I thought the Boba Fett one was going to be the one that was going to come out after Episode 8, but it seems like this one's taking the place of that, unless both of the characters are in the same film. But if I'm just going on general thoughts, I'm actually quite apprehensive. That's not due to the directors. I think the directors are great. If you watched our top 10 list of animated films, you know how much I love the Lego movie. I think that film was brilliant, and it's interesting because obviously there was the Star Wars bit from that, and now they're going to be doing their own thing. But it's the thing with origin stories, like, I don't need it. I don't need to see how Han Solo became the scoundrel we know from Episode 4. Like, why can't he just be the scoundrel? This is the problem with prequels and stuff because you ultimately know how everything's going to play out. So if Boba Fett is in that movie, and even with Han, you know that they're both going to make it out alive at the end of the film. So there's going to be no tension in any of the action scenes. I think this is a mistake from Disney because I think what they should be doing is looking forward or going way, way back to like old Republic style stuff and covering stuff that happened there. Because prequel stuff there is fine because I think that's set like thousands and thousands of years before Phantom Menace. But it's just filling in areas that I think are kind of pointless and won't really enhance the story all that much. It seems to me like this would be a good story for like the comic book lines that are being bought out by Marvel.
See, I think it's a bit different. I don't. When they announced it, I'm looking forward. I think Boba Fett's going to be a key part of it. I
Mm.
don't think Han Solo's got enough gravitas to warrant his own film. Not in a degraded way. He's one of the best characters, but he works in this trio, and you don't want
Yeah.
him to take the limelight, and that's what my worry is because he's got his bits. I think this is going to be a very much a Boba Fett slash Solo film. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have the Jabba the Hutt stuff leading up to Episode 4. We don't know, but there's a lot that could go wrong with this. But I think Disney have got themselves a plan. I think Kathleen Kennedy knows what she's doing, so I'm past the worried stage. I think it comes down to casting, which is really the hardest selling point in the film, and I've got no idea what their plan is.
Yeah, I was literally just about to bring up that point. Like, everything rests on who you cast, because obviously Han Solo is one of the most beloved characters of the Star Wars saga, and you're never going to top Harrison Ford, but you've got to have someone who brings something new and has their own take on it, but you also need to be able to see the glimmer in them that this guy will eventually become Harrison Ford from Episode 4. Um, but yeah, that whole Boba Fett thing like really threw me off. Like they said, Boba Fett standalone movie spin-off, and now all of a sudden that's a Han Solo one.
I
So I don't know if that was obviously Boba Fett's going to be included because even in Empire, even though it's never said, you kind of get that hint that they've got some kind of history.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking the whole time. I was trying back to Episode 6 where when he kills Boba Fett, they're like, Boba Fett where? And he already knows the name, whereas you don't really see the others mention it.
Hmm.
I think it's going to play down to the Hutt history, which could be really good, but I think it's a risk, whereas you've got stuff like Rogue One, which is looking awesome. I mean, I don't mean in a disrespectful way to this film, but I'd like to have seen something new that hasn't been explored and move on to individual characters after. But
Yeah.
then again, you get the issue of, oh, they've run out of ideas, they're doing it, so we might get a good schedule. I don't know. I don't think Han Solo or Boba Fett themselves could carry their own film. So maybe putting them together might benefit more. I've just got no idea how it's going to play out. Because I mean, it's clearly in the earlier stages of pre-production.
Yeah, and no, I agree with that. Like what you were saying about Han Solo, they work better as part of an ensemble cast rather than on their own. But I'm sure they're going to be, throwing loads of new characters into it and stuff. And actually, if you were going to do like Han Solo's spin-off, like prequel story, I'd like to see why Chewie owes him the life debt. I think that would be a pretty cool story, but obviously Chewbacca's going to be in it as well, unless this is going to be where he first meets up with Chewie.
Yeah, I could sense something like, I think it'll either be directly before Episode 4 or in the past leading up
Mm.
to it. I don't really know. The other thing I want to say is that they've slated it for May 25th, 2018.
Yeah.
So we're finally getting the May releases back. However, this is 3 weeks after the Avengers Part 1, so I've got a good feeling that they're going to pull the Avengers back to, say, March now. I
Yeah,
don't
and
think
and
they'd
that'll
risk it.
be around the usual time that because we obviously get the Marvel films a couple of weeks before the US, and we usually get it. it's either mid to late April, I think, isn't it? So
Yeah,
that would give it that little bit of headway on the release date. Also, just thinking really quickly before we move on to the next point, with Han Solo spin-off, will we see a young Lando as well and see Han winning the Falcon at
that
the card game?
that's something I had my own pitch for that, but I
Yeah.
reckon I don't know if it's too far back. They're doing the Lando comics, and that's
Mm.
set between five. But I've got no idea how any of it's going to play. I'd like to see Lando because they said they've got plans for him. But then again, Lando's probably being explored in Rebels at the moment.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, we get the proper Comic Con stuff. I mean, this panel was on Friday, technically Saturday morning at 1:30 in the UK. Obviously, it wasn't streamed live, but all the news broke. I woke up in the morning to arguably the greatest behind-the-scenes video I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. I'm not even ashamed to admit I may have shed a single tear down my eyes when this panel finished. And that reel behind the scenes, yeah, it was really powerful to see. And my thoughts on it, if any apprehension I had for the film's just kind of all been thrown to the side now. I've seen the passion in all the cast and the crew. They're on location and they're making that really big push now for practical effects and the whole talk with that. I know you haven't seen the actual panel, but this not really a slight spoil for it, but they bring that first creature that was released in that charity video out, the one with the
Oh,
rucksack.
it's called like Bobilo or something like that. It was the
Baba
first.
Joe or something they call him, I think. He comes out on stage and there's their whole focus on like the first bit of the panel is talking about a return to practical effects, and then you see that shot in the panel as well, where in the reel, sorry, where you see them recording on film. They're in the desert. You've got all like the new alien creatures and stuff. It just makes me want to see the film now. It looks really good. Um, and you said as well, like we talked after I watched that, you said this is like really smart marketing, and it is because they could have very easily come out and just showed a new trailer, but it's only been a few months since the last one, and I think people are still on a real high after that trailer. So they've been really smart just to kind of whet our appetite and just throw little tidbits at us until the film comes out in December.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've seen it, this is looking at one of the smartest marketing campaigns of all time. I mean, what you've had a lot of people say is although the first two trailers are immense for us, there's still a minor amount of people that aren't sold saying the Phantom Menace's trailers are incredible. What I got on Saturday morning was a message off one of my lectures, and he's like, I'm really looking forward to it now. And I think that behind the scenes video is that because you're kind of on set, you're seeing the models, you're seeing what they're doing, and then you kind of get Peter Mayhew who's having the time of his life doing Chewbacca sounds,
Oh yeah.
and it genuinely it's good enough to carry its own trailer. I mean, if you put that on at the cinema, everyone's going to be, I could be more engaged than they could be with the trailer,
Mm.
and I think they're getting everything right. And even as the convention went on, when Hasbro were doing their Episode 7 merchandise, they actually, I think they only unveiled like two or three things.
Yeah.
So I think they're gearing towards the big Disney or D23 event in late August. I don't know, but I'm happy that they didn't, fill it up with spoilers and stuff.
I think we'll probably get another trailer like their big trailer because they still class the other two trailers as teaser trailers. Like the first one, fair enough. The second one felt like a regular trailer to me. But yeah, and then at the panel as well, they brought all the cast out, and then like all the new cast, and then when you thought it couldn't get any better, there's three chairs left. Who do they bring out? Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford. And the crowd gave Harrison Ford a standing ovation when he walked out, and he actually looked like he's into it now as well. He was still very shy, but that's just how Harrison Ford is. But he was making jokes about his plane like accident he was in and stuff, and they were saying like, "Are you okay now?" And he says, "Well, I'm here, aren't I?" And he's cracking jokes like that. Mark Hamill's fantastic, and Carrie Fisher's she's just a blast. She's hilarious. They're all into it, and I'm not going to go into like prequel hating here and stuff. But when you look at the behind the scenes of the prequels, it was very much George was in charge, and the rest of it was kind of done like a business. Like they're all talking numbers, and you didn't really see much passion in people's faces. But on this, when JJ on the video says like we're all on day one shooting episode 7, how crazy is that? And all the cast are just so into it, and the crew. It's gonna be a blast. I can't wait for the movie.
I know. I think prequel wise, there's two things I see it now. This is the era where the Star Wars fans are now directors, rather than back then it was too young, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
also, I know this. I mean, I like the prequels, but I'll admit this: the fact they went wrong makes Episode 7 further right, if you know what I mean.
yeah. And I
Because
was watching. Oh, sorry,
I
carry
was
on.
to say they're going to pick up. They've picked up on the mistakes they made, which will improve it. And in all honesty, I'd rather there was a better Episode 7 than a Episode 1.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched the YouTube channel on Hello Greedo. He did a review on this as well, and he did the brilliant quote which basically sums that up. He says, "Maybe we needed a Phantom Menace to get a Force Awakens," and I think you're right. Like, obviously, it would have been great if all three of the prequels had been as fantastic as the original trilogy, but it's nice to see a resurgence in it, and I think you've predicted it's going to make. Did you say 2 billion or 3 billion?
Two,
Did you think it could get?
2.6 to 3.1, and I'm still
Yeah,
convinced.
and I think the hype's there because just watching this behind the scenes, I'm sort of envisioning what I'm going to be like opening day, and I know I'm going to see it probably like I'm going to go and see it, come out of it, probably walk straight to the counter at the cinema and just ask for another ticket. Like even if it's bad, I'm still probably going to see the film like 6 to 10 times or something like that. It's going to be immense.
Oh, definitely, it's going to have repeat viewings for months and months and months.
Yeah,
And then another bit we got in Episode 7, very briefly got some hints. The villain base, where the villain, well, obviously the villain's there. There's been named it, which is one a very cool Easter egg. It's going to be called Starkiller Base,
yeah,
which, for those that don't know, Luke Skywalker's original name, including when they were filming, he was called Luke Starkiller. Only for, I think it might have been the combination of Lucas and Hamill thinking it's almost like a very rough name. So they pitched Skywalker, and Starkiller then went on to become the Force Unleashed character.
mm.
But it's a cool little nod, isn't it? And it's kind of very Empire-esque to have like a name like that.
Yeah. I like that, and this goes back to the whole thing where obviously all that stuff's legacy now. The old EU. But they can still cherry pick what they want. And I think that was a nice nod. Obviously, they said it was to the original name for Luke, but even to like us who played the video games and stuff like, I love the first Force Unleashed game. Um, but yeah, it's a cool nod, and I'm sure we'll probably get a lot more of those as well that they haven't told us about.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's gonna be lots and lots of it. And another bit they mentioned the actor Domhnall Gleeson, who many people thought could be Luke's son. There's still nothing on him. He was revealed to be the character of General Hux.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this was the bit of news that he let slip because there's this really great bit in the panel where someone asks them a little bit about their characters, and obviously Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, the main villain of the film, he he seemed really nervous at the panel, but there wasn't much he could say. Like he's going to be contractually obligated to say nothing about his character because that's going to be the big reveal in the movie. So they were asking, "Is there anything you could tell us about your character?" And he was basically like, "No, ask the next person." And then Domhnall Gleeson, I think he let slip that name, and then he was like, "Oh shit!" And he like turned to JJ and he was like, "Can I say that?" JJ Abrams just kind of laughed it off and just went, "Well, you just did now. The name's out there, but it's not a massive spoiler, but it's just
No,
it's
it's
that little speculation of probably what we're going to see in the film."
and then they put a picture up of him as well, which is well, they put a picture up of the three villains. Obviously, we all know Kylo Ren and Captain Phasma, and
Yeah,
then you had him in the middle, and he looks evil. And then I think already was kind of joking around saying, "Yeah, I'm British. Of course I'm evil," and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah, he
So
was.
that was pretty cool. And then we got a minor bit of news on Rogue One, which was Kathleen Kennedy saying it commences filming in 3 weeks, and we all know that's going to be in Pinewood and in Mexico. So that's one to look forward to because it's so bizarre. They were all hyping up Episode 7. It's going to hit so much quicker, Rogue One, and then Episode 8, which is like 5 months after that.
And I know it's basically down to the director at the end of it, but I hope with Kathleen Kennedy acting as producer on all of them, all of the anthology films as well as the main episodes, I hope they maintain that visual look to them. Like I don't want Episode 7 to be this sort of this practical effects heavy film, shot on film, and then all of a sudden we get to Rogue One or Episode 8, and we're back to the prequels again, the CGI everywhere, and it just doesn't marry up to what's come before. But I think she'll sort of rein them in and say, no, this is the vision we've got. keep it similar to this.
Yeah, I think I read with Rogue One they're shooting digitally, which I can understand. In all honesty, it seems
Mm,
very much like a director's choice. So
yeah.
Abrams would have grown up with it, whereas the Rogue One director is very younger. I think that they are going to stick to sets. I think Kennedy was on set probably every day for Episode 7, so I'm assuming she's going to be in a similar position for Rogue One. The thing with Rogue One, as important as Episode 7 is, if Rogue One goes wrong, then that's everything out the way for anthologies. People are going to be like, oh, here we go.
Mm.
And I think there is a gritty war film. The people they've brought on board have been in famous war films. I think it's going to be very hands on deck and nasty as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely a different style to what we're used to from Star Wars, but then I'm kind of okay with that. Like, if we're going to get all these anthology films, I'd like to see them take risks, try new things, and I'm going to see it regardless. It's got Star Wars on it. Obviously, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. It'll just be interesting to see. Obviously, we might get some that are more kid-based, perhaps, or we might get some that are like this that are meant to be more adult and like sort of a Saving Private Ryan or in space. So I think that'll be interesting, and you'll get the different audiences in, and that's what Star Wars is doing, especially with Force Awakens. We talked about this before. It's bringing all the different generations in to one film, and then I think the anthology films will allow different audiences to come in, like for each movie that comes out.
Yeah, I think Han Solo, like we can look at it this way. Rogue One, I think will be for all ages, but it's going to be darker. And I
Yeah.
think Han Solo, you can see, is a lighter one that, well, maybe not lighter, but I think the kids might enjoy that more than a Rogue One. And obviously, if they were to do the Old Republic, that would be very much your over 12s. I mean, the kids would like it, but it'd basically be Revenge of the Sith on the scale of 100.
Mm. Yeah, and that's what I hope they kind of do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what they're aiming for. They just want to shake it up. And another thing, this isn't really related, but this is a hilarious story. There's the 6-inch Black Series figures that I've been collecting, and a lot of people have Hasbro doing.
Yeah.
They're awesome. They unveiled a few more. I won't really go into the details, except in Episode 7, TIE Fighter scaled to a 6-inch pilot, which is going to be massive and expensive.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually saw that today. I watched IGN's video on it. It looks awesome.
I can't wait for it. I want to get it. It depends how much it is and how much of the ones I end up buying. But the selling point of this was at the Hasbro booth. They hyped up for ages. They've got a First Order Stormtrooper 6-inch Black Series. Come get it. And obviously Hasbro is apparently renowned at conventions for having A, horrible security, and B, a terrible selling system.
Mm.
Apparently, like Bandai and a lot of the other companies, you have to like purchase tickets. They call you in, stuff like that, a very civilized way. Apparently, Hasbro let them loose, and the
Oh
two
God.
the two stories I've got is that there was quote physical altercations. Basically, I think a punch or two was thrown. Then apparently there's a woman on the floor. Instead of helping her, people walked around her, got further up the queue. So that was a bit bizarre. I mean, it's Star Wars, though. It's going to happen. Don't
Mm.
underestimate it. But the best bit is a guy bought 8 of them, and I think the prices were $25 at the convention
That's pretty
center.
good.
So he
That's pretty
spent
good.
$200, and then apparently he started selling them for $30. So I don't mind that, a nice bit of weekend profit. But the
Yeah.
story I've got was that one of the blokes in the queue got out with $30 out of his wallet. So he took his wallet out, takes his cash out, and just some nutcase runs by, just grabs his wallet and just runs off. So he's obviously got his Star Wars figure for his wallet. And I thought that
Oh man.
those stories, it's the most bizarre things, but it's incredible at the same time because you just like can't underestimate them. Like, it's terrible of Hasbro to have terrible security, but that's mental.
They might have known for Star Wars though. I mean, you're right. Never underestimate a Star Wars fan because you do not know what lengths we will go to get our hands on those prized collectible toys. It actually, from those stories you just told me, it reminds me a lot of Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Mad Dash for Turbo Man.
Yeah,
It's like with these new Star Wars toys, and these aren't even the Episode 7 ones out yet. I mean, they're going to sell like hotcakes as well.
I know. But then what I love most is that they the next day apparently the members of the 501st were dressed up as the new stormtroopers. Apparently they just had one of them outside all day, just like keeping watch.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
But
because I've been reading that book, How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, and
yeah.
there's that whole chapter on the 501st and how that started up, and they say that they do a lot of security-based stuff as well, don't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was at a convention a few weeks ago, and it was funded by the UK equivalent called the Garrison, and I
Mm.
mean, obviously they have to they have to stay in character, but They just seem like a great bunch of people, and the fact that it's 100% charity work,
Yeah,
it
it's
just gives
awesome.
them this credibility. It's very hard to be a part of it all. There's a lot of money involved in getting your costumes accurate, but at the end of the day, it's worth it, and it's all for a good cause.
I'd love to be a part of the 501st, not gonna lie, but we can dream.
Oh, definitely a grand or two, and you'll be on your way, I think.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, that is Star Wars done. Believe it or not, we're 25 minutes in. On Saturday night, sorry, I've got a moth flying around my head. On Saturday night, we got the Warner Bros. Panel,
Yep.
and obviously the highlight of this was DC. Everyone was there for DC, but they were treated to two minor panels beforehand, which was the summer film Man. I think is it the Man from Uncle, which is a Henry
Yeah.
Cavill spy film. They showed a new trailer for that. I haven't seen it yet, but it's one of them films where I think they just kind of had to give it a panel because they were there, one of them. So it's very short, and I haven't really heard a lot about it. No one's even bothered tweeting about what happened at that panel, to be fair.
No, I hadn't heard about this, and I haven't seen the trailer either. But as you said, if Henry Cavill's in it, then it's probably just part of the agreement for him to show up as long as they endorse the film or something like that.
Exactly, and the second one they're showing was one I'm looking forward to a bit more, which is Pan, which is obviously the Peter Pan kind of film slash reboot thing. And they showed a exclusive trailer for the Comic Con people there, which apparently, obviously we haven't seen it, but there's been a lot of people slagging it off, and they've come out and said this trailer actually looks awesome. It looks a lot better than the previous ones. Then they picked up, it looks very practical effects, and then going into the convention, or sorry, the panel, Hugh Jackman came out and supposedly said that they built four gigantic pirate ships, quote, the size of Hull H, which is massive.
Yeah.
That's where they were filming off. So if they've done that, then clearly there's a good vibes going towards it.
Well, this just reminded me of it was Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, which I don't think it still is now, but for a long time it was the highest production cost for a film of all time. And most of that, I think, went into the big pirate ship battle at the end, which was just two ships that were built.
Oh yeah,
So if they've built four, you say, for this, and like proper full size ones, it's going to be good. I've only seen the first trailer once, and that was a while back when it first came out. I remember it looked interesting, but I was just kept thinking like, why not just do a new telling of Peter Pan? This looks like it's sort of Peter Pan, but they've done like a spin on it where it's not obviously Captain Hook's a bit part in it and stuff like that, and it looks interesting. It looks weird though, but I'm intrigued by it.
yeah, and I think what they had, it was originally slated for August, and I
Yeah.
think they pushed it back to October, which is bizarre because there's not many August films coming out, but maybe they need the extra time. We don't know, but October's a good time you get the half term, so you tend to get a blockbuster or two. But then again, you've got Bond coming out around then, so
And I'll just bring up another bit of news as well because that reminded me around October. If this is a family film, you're also going to be getting Ghostbusters, not Ghostbusters, sorry, Goosebumps come out, and we got the trailer for that this week as well, and that looks like it's going to be a fun sort of a family movie, so it'll be going up against that.
yeah, and it's going to be interesting because I remember reading them when I was younger, the TV shows, and it was pretty cool. And for the film, it's Jack Black, but he's actually playing the author of them, so it's going to be interesting. But it's the fact this is a kind of nostalgia childhood thing, and it looks a lot like Jumanji in a nice way, though.
Yeah, it does. It reminds me a lot of Hook as well
Oh
when you're
yeah,
talking about practical effects like the village and stuff. So yeah.
I think it's one to watch out for, and obviously Uncle and Pan they were gone 45 minutes in. Then
Mm.
the real show started. Kicking off the DC panel, there was a 3.5 minute Batman v Superman trailer.
It was a long trailer.
And I know we have incredibly mixed opinions on this. I mean, it's
Yeah,
literally like black and white Marks and Spencers. It is incredible, like the differences we've had.
yeah. This it was kind of a good spirited argument last night, wasn't it? Where we
Oh,
were like back and forth on Facebook.
I was there literally like I think it was like half 12. I was trying to get to bed, and I was like, no. I was like I have to defend it. But then it's one of them. It's going to split people. But in all honesty, I know you don't like it, but this has sold me on it more than the first trailer did, which I
Oh,
think is
it's
important.
yeah, it's definitely sold me on it more. But for a lot of people, when they saw this trailer, they were like just threw their hands up and went, "DC's won." You know, Warner Bros. Has won Comic Con. There's always that rivalry between the different panels each year of who had the best announcement, and for a lot of people, I'm seeing that they're completely on board with this film. But we've got to remember something here. In my opinion, Man of Steel was not a good movie at all, and that's your foundation movie for this entire franchise. Now, obviously, from the looks of it, this film's going to be better, and it obviously is because Batman's in there. Um, but it's the tone again. It's not a fun tone, and what they've done is, and obviously we got this with Man of Steel. They've completely missed the point of the character and the tone and the style of what Superman's meant to be. Superman's not meant to be a dark, brooding, gritty film. That's what Batman is, and Batman looks great in this. Like I've always been on Team Affleck for Batman, and I think a lot more people will be now they've seen this. We don't get to hear him talk in the trailer, granted, but from the visual style of it and what they're doing with the character, completely spot on for Batman. But he's up against a Superman I don't care about. There were no moments of character for him in Man of Steel for us to get to know him as a person. There was no levity, so there's no humour to it. Looks like there's going to be no humour in this as well. And that's really my biggest fault with it, is that when you go and see a superhero film, yes, it can be dark, it can be serious, that's fine. But you need that levity to it. And I brought up last night the examples of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Very, very dark and adult films for Batman, but they still had little bits of comic relief in it thrown here and there, and it just makes the experience of it more enjoyable, especially it being a superhero film with the two most iconic superheroes in it of all time.
I think this is where it slowly shifts because you're right. I'm 100% nailed on with Batman. Originally with Affleck, I was like, oh, for God's sake! But then it took like literally like 3 hours to sink in. Say, you know what, it'll be good. And I
Mm.
think the opening shot of the trailer, which is in Metropolis, there's a uh, Wayne Enterprises building stuff in, it just gets obliterated, which is a really cool throwback because they've clearly been filming bits and bobs. So and
Mm.
then you literally see like Bruce Wayne running into literally. I mean, I know this is like a comparison, but when 9/11 happened, when the
Yeah, no,
buildings go
totally.
down, you have the rubble, and you literally see Bruce Wayne just charging and trying to save people. And straight away, I think that opening 20 seconds, I was immediately sold on Ben Affleck. I already had been, but I was kind of like, he's nailing the look. He's ripped out of his face for it,
Mm.
and you know what you're going to get at Batman, and it was empowering. And I like the fact that Man of Steel, the ending was a mess with the destruction stuff. I think I'm happy that they're actually playing on it. But the thing is, what differs with me and you is because I've never ever cared for Superman as a character. This is where I strive in. But I think I think for DC, it's bizarre that Superman doesn't actually fit the tone of DC. He fits Marvel in itself. So
Yeah,
I think if you're gonna have this cinematic universe, I don't think you can stick a severely dark character as one of the important ones. I mean, if you look at stuff like the Avengers, it would, in all honesty, they have to stick them the same. If they're a bit more serious, they've got these engines, but you've got like Stark, who's a comedian, and it's hard to see dark side. And I think for this, they've had to stick it that way. And I think the trailer it's calmed some of my issues. Obviously, Jesse Eisenberg, not at all. That was just retarded. Um, you mentioned that he would be a good Riddler, and I was completely sold on that now. But
mm.
I think going into it, I think it was a good trailer. I think it sold a lot of people on it. I mean, Screen Junk is a big YouTube company. They're notoriously DC haters, and they all loved it. So
Mm.
it's nice to see that it's now getting some more opinions to it. But I think it's going to be a risk whatever happens. But there's just this allegiance of fans that I don't think it completes. Not in a nasty way, but it's the character of Superman, and it's risky to change it. But for me and a lot of people, I don't mind. But it's going to be hard to sell it to everyone. It's the same with every film. I mean, if you look at like any superhero film, there's always dislikes for it, and I think that's just natural of the genre.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. And but I'm struggling to come to terms with that in a movie called Batman v Superman. We're gonna have an extended courtroom battle involving Superman. Like it's the tone for me. That's the problem of it. But going back to some of your other points, the destruction of Metropolis with the shot of Wayne, that's a really cool way to tie the two films together, and that will give Bruce Wayne a really good motive. And you'll see both opinions, I guess, even though Superman did effectively level three quarters of Metropolis in the first movie. But what I'm questioning from the intro is with that stuff is I think when they made Man of Steel, that wasn't even part of their mind. I think that Zack Snyder just went completely insane with the action they've since seen the backlash and thought, oh shit, like, hang on, no, we can take that and we can mold it into the story for the next film. So if it's always been their plan, then that might make me go back to Man of Steel. I still won't like the film, but it will make me be at ease more with the ending because I know where it's going and what they planned it for. But I'm going to question as to whether that was always their intention. And then your point about Jesse Eisenberg, to me, he was the weakest thing of this trailer. He looks completely over the top. It's Jesse Eisenberg playing Jesse Eisenberg, basically. And you know what? I haven't got anything against him as an actor. I really like him in Social Network, and I really liked him in Zombieland as well. But that's because he's always played the sort of wimpy, nerdy type characters. He's completely miscast as Lex Luthor, and all my concerns just were still there in the trailer when I actually saw him. He looks ridiculous. He does this weird thing with his voice as well, especially at the end where he's like, "The red capes are coming." He almost does like a Bane voice, and it just doesn't fit the tone of the movie. And then I guess two other things we could talk about, and then I'll pass it to you for the major point. Is we can talk about the look of the film, but also we finally get to see Wonder Woman in action as well in a couple of shots in this.
Yeah, I think with Wonder Woman, I'm not a fan of the character, and before feminists start crying, no, I'm not like that. Like that. She's just very. I'm a princess. I'm actually cool. When they cast her, I was a bit mixed. You know, Gal Gadot, you know, for Fast and Furious, but there was a picture last year where I was like, her looks kind of suits what DC's going for. It doesn't look brilliant,
Mm.
and then I think you had that shot in the trailer where when she's in the backlit, she actually kind of looks like she fits into this world. And then again, I mean, I think she suits it, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it because obviously DC have never done a Wonder Woman film. They did the show in the 70s, which I kind of said last night. It's like it's basically Superman,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
and I think with this, I know it's only 2-3 shots, but she kind of looked pretty cool, and you had the devastating power when she smacks her wrists together. So I just don't know how important she will be to the film, and obviously it's Batman v Superman, but is she going to get 10 minutes screen time or 20 minutes screen time? We don't know.
Mm. And then I remember when you were saying as well when we were predicting, doing our predictions for Comic Con, you said, "Oh no, they'll show some clips of Batman and Superman's fight." And I was like, "No, I don't think they will. I think they'll save that for the film." But we do get shots of it, and this plays into Zack Snyder's visionary style. Because if I say one positive thing about Man of Steel, it will be that the film does look great. But this was a film. Well, Zack Snyder always wanted to do an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns. He's said that since like he did 300 and Watchmen around that time, and it's funny now how he's got the gig to do it. And you do see shots in this that are more or less panel for panel from that comic book. One of the ones that comes to mind is where Batman's on the side of the building with the grappling gun, and it's like a split second. If you pause it and freeze frame, it'll be a great wallpaper where you get the blue lightning flash in the background, and it's exactly like the front cover. And little attentions to detail like that are perfect. And there's obviously other shots in the trailer that I don't know how these will play into the film. There's a shot where you see Batman in like a desert somewhere, and he gets surrounded by a bunch of guys. I'm watching that going, oh, I'm curious to see where this goes. To me, it looks like the film's going to be like 2.5 hours, pushing 3 hours, because it seems like they need to accomplish a lot in this movie. And then obviously you get all the supporting cast returning from Man of Steel, and my hopes have gone up for it definitely, but I just know that the film that came before, and obviously it's the same team on board for it, so I'm not going to get my hopes up too high because I think it's ultimately going to come down to a tonal stance on the legacy of the DC universe that I'm not too keen on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because we're going to get more as it goes on.
Oh
But
yeah.
the way I'm seeing it is I know it's a horrible comparison, but you had Fast and Furious 4, then
Mm.
Fast and Furious 5, and it sounds a bit stupid, but I think we're going to get something where they're not going to change the tone, but the stakes are going to be changed, and I think they're going to take into accommodation fans a little bit more, and they're going to
Mm.
try and revamp it. Because I think what they did with Man of Steel, as you mentioned earlier, that that they kind of didn't know if they're planning or not the destruction. The way I see it was they were going to do a Superman film because Batman was big, and it was going to be a
Yeah.
reboot, and then they thought it'd be cool if they could put one or two little Easter eggs in for a potential universe, which what Avengers did. Obviously, Avengers hit was massive. They panic, they chuck it together. Man of Steel makes 700 mil. They wanted a bill. They were never going to get it for Superman, let's be honest. So they
Mm.
kind of thought, right, what we're going to do, we'll put Batman in. And then it kind of strayed off that. And I think now they will have a fully fledged plan in place. And I think they've got it. They've done this plan longer than they wanted it to be.
Mm.
But it's gonna all come down to when the Justice League film comes out. Are people going to be ready for it? If you know what I mean? Because you get
Mm.
they didn't show it, but you've still got like Aquaman, Flash, a lot of people appearing in it. Whether they're in it for a minute or two, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting in the build up to it, especially with Star Wars coming out just before.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever played the DC video game Injustice.
Oh yeah,
When Wonder Woman was in it and stuff, and you saw the fight, it really reminded me of that. So it looks like the fighting's on point and all the action and stuff, but obviously it comes out March next year, doesn't it? I think it seems like it should be a summer movie, but it's coming out March, so we haven't got all too long to wait for it. But I'm looking forward to it, but just I'm gonna keep my hopes lower a little bit.
oh yeah, it's going to be good, and I think now would be an incredibly good time to move on just from that
Yeah.
one of the four DC news bits we've got. The
Mhm.
second bit's one of the most obvious bits of news I've seen. One I'm excited for. The Batman solo film penned for 2018 is confirmed to be co-written and directed and obviously performed by Ben Affleck.
Yeah, and this had been rumoured for a long time to the point where I thought it was already fact anyway, but just to hear it confirmed, um, this news is brilliant to me. I haven't actually seen any of Ben Affleck's directed movies. Like I know he did The Town and Argo. Obviously, Argo's still one I definitely need to see, need to catch up on. But and is it Jeff Johns as well? I
Yep,
think has helped writing the script with him.
he is.
Um,
I was just say he is one of the DC Comics like main
yeah.
guys. So he I think helped invent the New 52, which is very much what these films are going off, which is awesome
Mm.
because it's a great series.
And I know a lot of people were saying that they wished he had some involvement because he knows these characters, he's written for these characters before, and if you can probably speak more for me on this because you've probably seen some of Ben Affleck's films, but I know he's a great director and a great writer as well, and obviously we'll see how he plays Batman in the films, but just on what I've seen, I think he could be one of the best Batman, if not the best we've had on screen. Obviously, I still have some kind of attachment to Michael Keaton because he was the first Batman I ever saw. But tonally wise, obviously we go. These are the next new Batman films after Nolan's ones, like the solo Batman films. And I can't think of a better director to take the shoes of those and do their own thing with it than Ben Affleck.
Exactly. I think the one quick thing I'll say on Affleck is that with Argo, it's a fantastic directed film, and then I have to take into consideration that he is the main character too. So
Mm,
having that Oscar-winning film leading up to the Batman spin-off, we now know that he can direct, write, and perform at the same time. So that was the most important part for me, and the fact they got Jeff Johns on board was arguably as important because Affleck, everyone knows he's a comic guy. He said it before. He just despises Daredevil.
mm.
He's now got the backup we need, and I think he's up for it. So it's going to be interesting the way it's done. I think the way he's going to do it, he's going to know the character, and he's going to see what the character will do. So I've got a feeling that we might have the. I know it's incredibly early to say, but I reckon he could be the best Batman. Whether it's the best film, we don't know. It's all going to hinge on how he is in Batman v Superman, Justice League, Suicide Squad, all of it. But it's going to be an interesting few years ahead for DC because I think I mentioned last night everyone's getting sick and fed up in Marvel. Not in a nasty way. They're fun films.
You can see the fatigue starting to set in a bit, can't you? Really?
That's the perfect word. I saw a lot of Ant-Man reviews where they said, "Oh yeah, it was fun." It's like, but I've seen it before. It's another boring villain that's doing it for greed or all that. And they
Yeah.
kind of said we're sick and tired. We need something. And I think Age of Ultron was the one where I thought this is going to be dark. I mean, sorry, not Civil War. Winter Soldier was perfectly that was dark while being light, and that's why it's the best one because it works. And I think Marvel's issue was they came out and says that we're not going to change our tone. So that's kind of really, really wanted me to go, right, DC, come on, let's hurry up. You've got a better comic, so you can make
Mm.
better films. I think at the end of the day, DC's got the better properties to make films with.
It's It's got some great characters, but obviously because they've never done films on them before, it'll be very difficult to see how audiences react to them. Um, but one thing I will say to DC's favour, and even kind of Batman v Superman's favour, is that it's about themes. There is some substance to the story there. Maybe not Man of Steel, but with this film, there is something there, and it's nice to see them reflecting on the destruction of the previous film and make it a focal point of the story to this one. Like we were talking when we did our Avengers 2 review, we mentioned the Hulkbuster and Hulk fight and the masses of devastation there, and then it's just kind of swept under the rug. It was like a neat action scene,
Yeah,
but
and
there's
then
never any repercussions to any of the action in it.
and it's like the end of Age of Ultron. They lift up a town
Yeah,
and
yeah, oh yeah,
they blow it up. This
yeah.
town is blown up at the end of the film, and I was sitting there like, "Hey up!" I was like, Man of Steel, they took out a city just because this isn't mass populated and have skyscrapers, and it's in East Russia or whatever. They're having the town off blown up, and I'm sitting there like this. There's never consequences of Marvel. Age of Ultron, we all thought is going to destroy it all. That's Civil War kicking off. It doesn't seem like we're going to have that all. Age of Ultron finished so nice and even. You kind of think, well, how are they going to do Civil War? But I think moving on from that, I will say of Marvel, they skipped Comic Con, and I think without sounding cocky, I'm a DC guy, but
Yeah.
I think they knew this was going to be DC's year. And I think
Oh yeah.
moving on to one of the other bits of DC was we had actually before I go into Suicide Squad, I just mentioned that they confirmed the Green Lantern reboot and just gave it the name Green Lantern Corps. And they haven't got a
Yeah.
date or any casting or anything, but it's basically saying Green Lanterns are going to be in it all.
They didn't say whether it was still going to be Hal Jordan or whether they were going to go what's it name? Is it John Stewart? Is it?
Yeah,
Is he the other one? Yeah. They haven't said that then yet. They've just confirmed the title
yeah,
for it and what it's going to be about. Yeah.
and that's all they've done, which is it's nice. They've already sold the show. Save the castings for next year because it's probably not going to come out to at least 2018-19 at the minimum.
Yeah.
And I think moving on from that, we got okay. We haven't officially got it. We have a leaked trailer for the Suicide Squad,
Mhm.
which it's hard to talk about because you can see most of it. There's a few blurry bits. It's on a small camera. Some of the sounds off, but the gist I get from it is that I'm looking forward to this. They're a favourite team of mine. I'm looking forward to this more than Batman v Superman. Um, but I do want to say is this looks like it's going to be not a hard art, but it looks very, very, very dark even for DC.
Okay, I'll start off with the. I'm not looking forward to this as much as Batman v Superman, but I was kind of iffy on this to be honest. Like we've seen the Suicide Squad before. If anyone watches Arrow, we get the Suicide Squad in that, and that seems much more of the tone I was expecting. This, I'll say that it actually looks beautiful. Like cinematography wise, they do some really nice stuff with this. As you said, it was difficult to pick on some of the dialogue, so I missed quite a bit of it. We get Amanda Waller talking at the start and sort of explaining what the Suicide Squad is. But I think that the trailer's very smart in that most moviegoers don't know who the Suicide Squad are if you haven't read the comic book, and they kind of lay it all out at the start. They say that it's the team of bad guys. Um, there's really not that much action in it. I guess they haven't completed it in post yet. We get a lot of sort of walk-in shots of the characters and close-ups and stuff, but we do get our appearance of the Joker at the end, our first proper look on screen of what Jared Leto's going to be bringing to it. And I know we have some pretty strong opinions on this. We hear the Joker laugh, and we get like a couple of lines towards the end from him. We've already been very vocal about this before, saying that we really dislike the look of him. But what did you think to his performance? And then I'll go into my opinions on it.
It's hard with Leto because I'm kind of sold on. I was sold when they cast him, and
Mm,
obviously we spoke in great length about the set pictures and the tats.
yeah.
And then, but when the trailers come out, I basically forgot about them. And then he kind of flashes on screen. I was like, okay, well, you can see more tats on him. And then he's like, oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I couldn't really hear that, but everyone said he said it, so I went along. Then you get this close up, and he looks terrifying, not in a horror way, but this is going to literally like give children nightmare for the next like
Mm,
10 years. I mean, it's kind of cool because I know that you're not going to be able to do the Nicholson Joker, which is the gangster. You can't do
mm,
the Ledger one, which is the realistic anarchic. So what they've done, they've they could have gone for a traditional Hammer-esque one. I don't think that would work in film personally. What
Mm.
they've done, they've gone for the complete psychopath, and Leto suits it because he's a nutcase. But I don't know how it's going to play into it because he was almost the selling point of the trailer, and he's basically going to be the selling point of the film. But I want to see a bit more because it's incredibly hard to judge him off 3 shots and some dialogue. But the tattoos are just so annoying.
Yeah, and I I've only seen Leto in American Psycho. I haven't seen him in anything else, so I can't base a lot of my opinions on him as an actor, other than that film. But from what I see of this film, is that I really just dislike the look of it. It seems to me like it's almost like a TV show Joker. It doesn't feel like a Joker for a main big budget movie. And especially if you're going to have Ben Affleck Batman up against Jared Leto, visually, I think it's just kind of offset. Like, I think obviously they've already done Heath Ledger Joker, so you've got to do something new because they know that that's the best Joker, and they'll never be able to top that probably. So they've had to go completely zany, completely different take on it, and visually jarring look from what's come before. I get that, but from the one shot, I don't think he's going to be a compelling Joker. And you said that you don't think that Hamill sort of persona would work on film. I actually think it would. And when the first set pictures came out and he was in the suit by the Lamborghini with Harley, it looked like he was going to be the sort of gentlemanly Hamill type Joker. And I was hoping we'd get that, but then here it's like it may as well be Victor Zsasz from the comic books. You know, he's completely mad and just insane and terrifying. He is nightmare inducing. And you're right, this isn't going to be one for the kids. I think this will probably get a 15 rating. I don't see them pushing it to an 18, especially because they want. It's a property that no one's heard of, so they'll want as many people to see it as they can. Um, so yeah, mixed feelings on it. Really, I'll have to wait to see a little bit more, but it's not awful. But again, it's just a question of tone. It's just really dark and miserable, no joy, and I think it needs a little bit of humour into it. And whether we'll get that from the Joker, we have yet to see.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about the Hamill. I'm with the Hamill. The reason I think it doesn't suit film was because I couldn't ever imagine someone doing that Joker that's not Mike Hamill.
Mm.
But I
Yeah,
think
that's a great point.
my issue with it is it's with the Lambo and stuff, the set picks. I think what I like the fact that Robin's dead. You see that in the Batman v Superman trailer. We forgot to mention it. I'm really liking this build that Batman's retired. I think this is going to be after that. My theory the whole time has been Batman's retired because of
Mm.
Robin's death. But I think he's beat the Joker up so much he's been on the verge of killing him. And I think obviously the Joker's a nut. I think this is full on like clicked his brain out because he's got metal teeth. I think that'll all be fake because of Batman. Because they mentioned in the trailer he's like a one-man warpath. It's going to be interesting because they were so far off. I think they're going to try and keep the Joker under as much wraps as they can until Batman v Superman, because we're blatantly getting the Robin flashback of the death.
Yeah, and I think the flashback would be pretty cool to see that. We haven't really seen that on the big screen apart from the animated film Under the Red Hood, and then obviously that's a storyline they could go into if they wanted to. But my hopes for the Joker is that obviously we're predicting that he's going to break out at the end of Suicide Squad, and you also made the point about that this is a Joker that's been pushed to his physical limits with the whole like decades fight. We don't know how long they've been fighting with Batman, and Batman's come very close to killing him. I think that if they have Joker in the first standalone Batman film, it'll be really cool because it will be Batman coming close to retirement, maybe, or you know he's older, he's more wearier, he's like a veteran Batman, and we'll have the Joker who's gone through all this and is trying to get Batman to kill him for the final time. And I think that will be a really compelling little self-contained story, still in the DC universe, but I think that will be probably the best standalone Batman story you could do, and especially if you've got Affleck directing, writing with Jeff Johns, I think that could have the potential to be the best Batman film we've seen.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one whatever they do because they've now been introduced to this world where they're obviously going to fight off. They're going to have the Justice League with the galactic stuff. I
Mm.
think this will be new to Batman since Superman's been around. There's been no aliens, so it's going to be. I think it'll be quite refreshing when it happens that we get a confined Batman film in Gotham, whereas before it was in Metropolis, aliens, all of this and that. So I think it's gonna work. I still think I'm more excited for Suicide Squad, but by the time that Batman film rolls around, I'll probably be looking forward to that the most out of the whole DC slate, except Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman.
And the kind of the last thing I'll say on it is, and I say this every time we talk about this, everything of this whole franchise is resting on the shoulders of Batman v Superman. If that tanks, then that dampens that, like, casts a shadow over their entire film schedule. But if it's a hit, then I want it to succeed because I don't want like another decade. Well, I don't want to say another decade, but I don't want a decade of bad Batman films because Batman's my favourite fictional character of all time in any media, any film, any comic book, video game, whatever. He is my favourite fictional character of all time, and I don't want to see him in bad films. I want it to be a hit. I want it to be an awesome joint universe because it does look. Bruce Wayne Batman does fit well into this universe they've created, even though it's got aliens and crazy cosmic stuff that's going to come into it. He fits right into it, and it could be the comic book Batman we've always wanted to see on screen, and I hope it is.
Yeah, oh definitely. And I think that is everything on DC. This is. I did
We
not.
got through it.
I was gonna say, oh, this might be 45 minutes, but
Yeah.
there's been so much. I mean, you could literally Comic Con could literally be like the majority of the news for the year, which it is actually.
Mm.
We kind of got a subsection before we hit the pox. Following this, there was a big presentation for Hateful Eight, which for any people that don't know is the new Tarantino film. They
Mhm.
didn't do a trailer. What they did was supposedly a 7 minute cut, so that whether they stuck a few clips together or it was one big scene, we don't
Mm.
know. But the gist is that it looked awesome. The cast looked great. They're performing well, and it's very very bloody and Tarantino-y. So
No surprises there, then. Yeah.
that's what I like going into it. I think there's been a few minor bits of news come out of it, which is pretty cool. They've mentioned that the soundtrack is going to be, I believe, his first ever original soundtrack on a Tarantino film.
Mm.
It's going to be composed by none other than Ennio Morricone, who is literally the godfather of Western soundtracks.
Yeah, and you told me that when you said like Ennio Morricone was going to be the composer. I was like, yes, that is perfect. He's done the best. He's one of the greatest composers there is. Obviously, his scores for the spaghetti western films, the Dollars trilogy, and he's done loads of other westerns and stuff too. Absolutely flawless, and I think it's the right move for Tarantino to start going into more original scores. We spoke a little bit about this before we hit record, but I think some of his films could have benefited from an original score, especially Inglorious Bastards. But because obviously his tone's always very zany, and he likes using previously released songs from stuff that influenced his films today, like stuff he grew up with, whether that's old TV shows or old, really like no-name films that he used to watch as a kid. But I think this is the right time, and I hope this is sort of a transitional period for Tarantino's directing to move. I don't want to say into more serious films, but to take himself a bit more seriously, because he used to with his old films like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, stuff like that, and then really it was probably from Kill Bill 1 he's moved into this very sort of. I'll keep using the word zany, but he's got a very different style to some of his original films, and even Django was kind of the same as that as well. So I hope this is not so much a return to form, but more of a transitional period in his directing.
Yeah, I think the soundtrack's the big issue with that. Not issue, sorry. It is the transition stage because he's said in many interviews before that he'll hear a song randomly and he'll just write scenes around them, and it specifically has to be for that song.
Mm.
Whereas this one, he's clearly written the film, then he's got his music, which I think was similar to Django because there only seems like maybe a few scenes where it's done around the soundtrack, but I think with this one it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out because I think he used Morricone before,
Mm.
very briefly. I think he got a few of his songs in Django. I think he tried to get him to compose for it, but he wouldn't. So clearly, something has gone right this time. And then speaking of westerns, so I think one of the audience has asked him a question, something like, "Do you consider yourself a western director now?" And he said something like, "To be considered western, you need to do 3 films." And he goes, "And maybe I can do one more and get the name." So it's a very subtle hint, but I wouldn't be surprised because he clearly enjoys doing them.
And obviously this might not be true, but I saw a rumor of he wanted to do. I think it was something surrounding World War Two.
Yeah, this was amazing. It was there was going to be vaguely linked to Django. It's going to be some like history trilogy he was looking at,
Yeah, that's what I was just going to
and
say. So that would make sense if that rumor is true that he wanted to do another Western style film. That would be a sort of trilogy in itself, like unrelated trilogy.
yeah, because if you the way I saw it was with this story, I just want to say because it's so cool. It was going
Yeah.
to be a bunch of African American soldiers in World War Two fighting for America. They were going to go mental and like kill all of their generals for like treating them like shit and stuff. The way I saw it was the South Park movie. But then they said it was going to be vaguely linked to Django, and they reckon that one of them could be like the offsprings of Django. So he had these little rumours, and he spoke a lot about it. But then he did just the Hateful Eight, and off he is doing westerns, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah, and westerns are one of my favourite genres, and to see him do an outright western, like most of his other films, like Kill Bill 2, Django, have all been western inspired, but this is his first proper one, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It's a Tarantino film, of course it is. And then if he goes on to do another western one, um, I kind of don't want to see him get caught up in just one genre, but if he does it so well, then I'm going to be kind of cool with it. And then I'm sure after that, I mean, he says that he might not retire at his 10 films as well, which we kind of expected. He said that he's going to retire for like his last 3 films and he'll carry on. I think he'll move into other stuff obviously after that, but if he wants to just kind of explore the Western genre a bit, hopefully bring it back as well, because it's sort of a genre that's died out, but will hopefully come back this year with like this film and The Revenant, which also sounds amazing at the minute. I'm all for that.
oh yeah, westerns are dying, or they kind of have, and Cowboys and Aliens like kind of was the hatchet on that. But the Revenant's been tipped for awards, and I think that's going to be the one that Django and Hateful Eight could be the ones where people go, right, we want to start making these films again. Because I think there was a vague bit in the 90s with a few westerns, weren't there?
Yeah, or like early 2000s, like the recent ones that come to memory were 310 to Yuma with Christian Bale was in that one, and then there was a film called Appaloosa,
Yeah,
which had Viggo Mortensen in, and I think it was Jeremy Irons as well. They're the 2 recent ones that come to mind, but nothing much past that really.
yeah, and it'll be good. And then the final bit of Tarantino's one was that you mentioned he might not retire at 10 films. I've always seen that the case, that he will stay on until he makes
Yeah.
a really bad one. He kind of said, someone asked him about Kill Bill, and he says Kill Bill 3 could happen.
Mm.
Obviously, this is major, major speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day he came back to it because he's still very close with Uma Thurman. It just depends whether she's too old for it and what story they'd do.
Yeah, and I don't want to Kill Bill 3 really. I mean, the story was told in Kill Bill 2. Like, spoiler alert, she kills Bill at the end of it. So I know there is a route the story could go which ties into the first film with Vanita Green's daughter, and then she wants revenge because Uma Thurman killed her mum. You can go that route with it, I guess, but it seems tacked on. And obviously, the credits at the end of Kill Bill 2, it's almost like a curtain call, really, for all the cast. In the credits, every single person who was on camera gets like their bit in the credits, and their name comes up, and it plays the music through it. And it seemed like the fitted ending for it. The story was told. I would just leave it at that. I don't see a need for Kill Bill 3, and I think that Tarantino could do a lot better than going back to one of his earlier franchises.
Yeah, and I think he'd probably rather make some new stuff, and I really want that World War Two film. I
Yeah,
mean, then they could have a crossover with the Bastards.
yeah, and that would be the neat little cap off, wouldn't it, to that trilogy, which would be nice.
Oh, that'd be cool. It'd be better than the Avengers.
Yeah.
And moving on, we've got a final panel, which was last night. Oh, sorry, recording Sunday, so it was technically Saturday night for us, morning for the Americans. which
If
was
only you could perceive time as we do.
Fox did their panel. The one thing I'll say, in case anyone's like blind, Sony and uh, Marvel decided not to do panels this year. Sony, obviously, they got nothing but James Bond.
Yep.
Marvel, because they're a bit cocky of themselves, and I think they probably knew DC would have it this time, because
Oh, they totally chickened out of this year.
there'd have been a lot of questions about, Age of Ultron. It's not done as well as they thought. The fact it's likely going to be the fourth or fifth highest grossing film of the year now.
Mm.
It's still not bad, but they everyone thought they'd have rocked on for second place, but that's not happened. But anyway, with Fox, it kicked off with the incredibly hyped up, amazingly passionate, looking forward to Fantastic Four reboot.
Yeah, and yeah, pretty much no news on this. We never got a trailer. We got a panel. That's it. The cast kind of sleepwalked through the interview. Whatever. Um, yeah, comes out August.
I
I'll
know,
go and see it.
wasn't like a 10 minute
Yeah, it was
panel.
really yeah, the panel was really short, and they were just saying like, "Oh, what can you tell us about your characters?" It was just stock questions like that, and Josh Trank was there, and he was just saying that he wanted to explore more of the mutation side of it and the monster side to it, and how they're treated as outcasts when they first get their powers, which he said was some of the storylines to the first few comic books in the Fantastic Four series. But you mentioned as well that in that panel they talk a lot about Chronicle for most of it, and to me, what Josh Trank's take on it is, this is almost a spiritual successor to Chronicle, almost like he wanted to do a sequel to it, but they just gave him Fantastic Four. And I don't know whether his direction's going to be good for this film. It seems like you just kind of needed an action director, really, just like any of the Marvel films, because that's the tone of the Fantastic Four. But I think it's just going to be one of them. We'll have to just not look at reviews, just go in and just see what it's like for ourselves.
Yeah, it might be good, but it's just the production history is stunted it so much. I mean, I wonder. Obviously, the questions they get asked are prepped pre-panel. I'm
Oh yeah,
just wondering if anyone would have had the ball to ask him about getting sacked off Star Wars.
yeah. Well, going back to the Star Wars panel quickly, you see the cast on that, and I talked about everyone seems so passionate about it. And even though I'm sure all the cast of that did loads of interviews before, they all seem like they were on point and still engaged with it. Fantastic Four, again, I'm sure they did loads of interviews before, but you need that joy to like show through on the actors' faces to hype up the film so that the audience is reassured and go, oh, okay, the cast and the crew are into it, fine, we should be in for something good. But they all looked so bored, like they didn't want to be there, and there was just no joy, and everyone was so monotone. I was like, oh god. It's not what I want the film to be, and I hope. Obviously, there's been loads of rumours and speculation of like what went on set, and I think there's probably is some truth to those rumours. I just hope it doesn't compromise the movie.
No, it might be a World War Z, it might be alright, but there's not a lot of looking forward to it as there could have been, say, a year ago or just after he got
Mm.
announced as director.
And I was saying this as well, like this was their one big chance to like finally show something of the film. Obviously, we've got the trailers, but this was their one big chance to like hit with like a punch and go, this is what we've made, this is what we're passionate about, go and see it. And this was their one big chance to do that before it comes out in August, and they haven't took it. They had like a 10-minute panel, and that was it. And it seems like a massive missed opportunity.
Yeah, and it's a shame, but obviously Fox got out of the way with that early. Everyone's
Yeah.
here for two other films. We'll go into Age of Apocalypse first because it's bizarre that obviously all the trailers have leaked, and the one film which you think would have a trailer leaked
We
didn't.
don't get.
We
Yeah.
get we get a 10-second hero on Instagram that's recorded it, and I'm sitting there like, hold on, you just released a Deadpool trailer, and
Yeah.
Warner Bros. Why on earth is there not of Age of Apocalypse? I can't really moan 'cause it's illegal anyway, but
Mm.
it's kind of a bit sad. I thought they might release it because X-Men's getting back on track now, and off the snippet we saw, it's kind of this guy goes like, "Who the fuck are you?" and then Apocalypse, played by Oscar Isaac, he's kind of like in like a sort of Hispanic voice, like to say like, "Come with me and find out." So Don't know who that guy was that said it to him, but it looked like some like nutcase with a mohawk next to Apocalypse. It didn't really give us a look, but it seems like the trailer itself got very good applause off the people that were in Hall H.
Mm. And I think I've gone on record and said this before. X-Men is my favourite Marvel property. I like the X-Men more than the Avengers. I've always been a massive X-Men fan, even as a kid. Don't know a whole lot about the villain of Apocalypse. Obviously, I've seen him in the comic books and stuff like that. But I was under the impression he was planet-sized because there's that. Unless it's just a visual metaphor, he's standing there with the Earth in his hand, and he's like shrunk down to like regular human size in this. And then you made the point before we recorded that he's going to have the power to change his size, and I guess that makes sense if you're going to put him on film because he almost seems like an impossible villain to put on screen outside of the animated film realm. But he didn't seem that villainous to me at the minute, but obviously this was just on like based on a 16-second clip of it. I'm sure the film's going to be fantastic. You've got all the same crew back. You've got the new cast as well that are going to be playing the younger X-Men, which is it seems like the best direction to take the series in. But yeah, based on the very very small clip I saw, I'm interested and I'm really looking forward to it because I love me some X-Men.
Yep, definitely. And I want to say about Apocalypse. The picture of him, I think, is the metaphor of him holding the Earth, but he is the mutant. He is the most powerful one, so there's potential that he could wipe it out. Because apparently, starts with Sophie Turner. Sorry, what's her name? Jean Grey saying that
Jean Grey, yeah.
she's had a vision of the world ending. So that's obviously how she's coming into it now. And it's all going to be Humpty Dare. And then they kind of very briefly, Hugh Jackman came out, and apparently they put a picture of a screen of him and the Claw. And he basically said Old Man Logan and left. So I'm assuming that the final Wolverine film's going to be the famous storyline, which I haven't read. But it was literally like he literally walked on and off and that was it.
Is this going to be the sort of second Wolverine movie? Are they going to do a two and then Old Man Logan will be the third, or will that literally be the last one? Because I'm not counting Origins as one of them.
This will be the one. It's his retirement film, I think.
Yeah.
Which is it's at least there's built a storyline ready for it. But yeah, it's going to be the one. He's blatantly going to appear in Apocalypse to what capacity we don't know. But Old Man Logan will be set as Immortal, and I think that'll be it. I think the fact they're doing this storyline, I think they'll retire the character for at least a few films if it's still going.
I think he'll still like come back for like little cameos maybe and stuff. But if you're going to end his very very long career as Wolverine, and we've got to say fair play to Hugh Jackman for sticking with a character for that long because I don't know any other actor that's done that. It seems like the best story to let his character go, and even a lot of X-Men fans and fans in general are saying that we wanted to see Hugh Jackman do Old Man Logan, and I think that will be a fitting farewell, and I'm sure they'll do a great thing at the end of that film where it's a nice goodbye to the character.
Yeah, I think that'd be his ninth or 10th appearance, which is insane. But then again,
and you got to remember the first X-Men film came out 2000, didn't it?
exactly, and the older he's got, the more he looks like Wolverine, which is pretty cool still.
I know, right? It's great.
But I think he's kind of said though, he to be fair to me, he's doing a lot of other projects these days.
Yeah.
But it'll be a shame when he goes, but at least he's going out in style rather than just wiping his face off and having someone new.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that. Obviously, it could have gone so wrong when he did Origins, but it's nice to see that they've brought it back as he's still been Wolverine. So that's good as well.
Yep, and then going off Age of Apocalypse, we have the trailer for Deadpool, which is leaked, so it's very blurry, but you get the gist of it. And I think we might have different opinions on this again.
Yeah, I think we do. Do you want me to go into my thoughts first, or?
Yeah, do yours, and I'll attempt to counter.
Okay, I don't know a whole lot about the Deadpool character. The only thing I know about him is that he's the merc with the mouth. He breaks the fourth wall a lot, and he talks in gold speech bubbles. That's all I know from the character of Deadpool, and that he hangs around with the X-Men a bit as well. Obviously, we got the leaked test footage that came out a while back, and I saw that, and I was like, okay, I'm on board for this. This looks like a lot of fun. But one thing I've always thought with Deadpool is that he works better in small doses. He's like a shot of adrenaline. Like he's great for a short while, and then it wears off after a bit. So that's my one concern with the movie, and it still is because the trailer, although it made me laugh in a few bits, it hasn't completely sold me, and I guess that's because they haven't got everything done in post yet, and they've put together what they've got. For me, a lot of the jokes didn't hit in this trailer. Um, we get a shot. I think it's like halfway through the trailer, which looks like they've taken that test footage they did a while back, and they've now put it on the big screen, which looks cool. But they do a joke in that was from the original footage, and no one laughs in the audience because the delivery is completely off, and it's different to how it was in the footage. In the original footage, Deadpool's breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the audience. I think it's the bit where he talks about you may be wondering why I wear the red suit. That is when he's talking directly to the audience, and the joke works that way. But in the context of this, he's talking to the people he's about to kill, and it just doesn't hit that joke. The one bit I did like is they do a little bit of fourth wall breaking where he says, "I want a suit and don't make it green and animated," which is a reference to obviously Ryan Reynolds playing Green Lantern. I thought that was pretty cool. Few shots of Deadpool look good. I really like the suit's design, but the trailer just hasn't got me hyped for it. I like that it's an R-rated, but no, like I was expecting to be blown away by the trailer and just like laugh from beginning to end, and I didn't really do that.
I think with this, it's a tough one because when that footage leaked, because it was a scene and that was them on the top of their game, that was their selling. It was so good that we got them sort of so many times. With this one, now it's the film. I don't think they've finished filming it. They might have,
Mm.
but they never confirmed they were having a trailer or anything for this. So I think they might be midway through production still. I don't know if they might have finished it. They might be in post. But I think what they're doing, it's not going to be a comedy. But I don't think they're going to risk their funniest moments in the trailer. But
Mm.
also, I think with this, they showed this trailer twice apparently. The last bit you can hear a few, but I think this might have been the second time they played it because normally at Comic Con they cheer the second it comes on, and it felt muted the whole time. So I've got a feeling that this might have been the repeat of it. But it's one of them. Some of the jokes work, some don't. And you're right about the car scene, the classic, the test footage bit. And I think they collided it in to have Colossus come in at the end of it. It will save the day. I don't have no idea what it's going to be in the film, but
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that as well. We do get that shot of Colossus in it. I don't know if it will be the same actor that they've used in the X-Men
nope.
films,
It's
but
a new actor.
so are they planning on tying this into X-Men? Do you think, or do you think they're going to keep this completely separate?
They haven't confirmed it yet, but I am like 200% certain that he will be name dropped in Apocalypse. Maybe at
Yeah,
credits, and I'm convinced that he'll be in whatever they do after Apocalypse. And I could see him in Gambit because he kind of suits that. But
yeah,
they're clearly gonna merge him because I think they mentioned it before. Reynolds wants it, and what I like the fact. I think one thing I need to say is that the fact that Ryan Reynolds is coming back to play Deadpool is the
yeah.
big bit
That's nice. Yeah,
because as bad as Origins was, that scene he was so funny when he's in the elevator talking. It has its poor bits, but the best bits of that film are arguably that opening scene and the Ryan Reynolds
mm.
moment. So it'll be nice to see him. I think when the film's out, we'll get a better sense of it. I don't think they're going to risk it doing all their because if you give away too many trailer moments, people are going to go, "Oh, for God's sake!" So I think it was all right to use a few of the car scene bits, but I've got no idea how it's going to come out in all honesty. But I think it will be good, and I think it's so much of a passion project that I don't think they'll allow it to go wrong.
Yeah, and as you said, like Ryan Reynolds, like we know that he's truly passionate about this character. Like he's been fighting to like play this character even after Origins, and he's aware of what went wrong with that film. But it's nice that they've brought him back and they've realised it wasn't his fault. I'm sure we'll get some fourth wall breaking moments in that film about that role as well. Um, but yeah, I think we'll wait to see more. It doesn't come out until February, so I'm sure they'll be going back for reshoots and stuff won't be done in post. And I hope they do some crazy stuff with that as well, because Deadpool himself is a very wacky character. Um, I don't completely hate the trailer, but it's just hasn't wowed me or got me as hyped as I expected it would.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think they're going to wait for a big one. I've got a feeling that this will be properly released alongside um, Fantastic Four next month. So I've got a feeling, give it a month, we might have a HD trailer. Maybe
Hmm.
that will help. I don't know, but there are a few films. I thought it was like you look like an avocado with like the face.
Yeah.
Those funny bits were genuinely funny, but I just hope that they don't risk it and try and get all their jokes in the trailers because that will kill it. But I mean, he's such a character. Like, the whole film's going to be a joke if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I guess the one thing I'll end this whole thing on is, if you had to pick one thing, who do you think won Comic Con for this year?
It's incredibly as a panel. I think DC, as
Yeah.
a moment, it's the Star Wars behind the scenes video.
Okay, I'll tell you what I think won Comic Con. And
Oh
obviously my
wait there.
answer's
Is this the trick Brian Cranston answer?
no,
Oh, do you want a funny
but it.
story?
Yeah, yeah, go on.
Basically, there was a Breaking Bad Q&A. Some really, it's all over the internet. This really geeky kid gets up. He's clearly like in distress. He's like, oh my
Yeah.
god. He's like, oh, I'm from Albuquerque. He's literally crapping himself. He's like, I want to know what was it like filming in Albuquerque? Did you have any fun? Did you get up to good things? Then it cuts to Brian Cranston. He's like, I used to go and visit your mom. And
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
and it was so funny. Then he's like, "Well, that's a bit mean," but everyone was just pissed themselves. I said, "Like, Jesus!" Like, I thought that might be a trick who won, but say yours now.
No, no, Brian Cranston's the man. But no, actually, what I think won Comic Con behind Star Wars, because obviously Star Wars is going to be my number one, was Bruce Campbell in Ash versus Evil Dead. Like, I know that's TV, but it sort of ties into film because it's following on from the Evil Dead series. That show looks amazing. Comes out this October. I can't wait for it. It's sort of an unofficial Evil Dead 4, and the humour's on point. Bruce Campbell's great. That to me won Comic Con.
I was gonna say everyone shared it, but I haven't seen Evil Dead yet. But I know a lot about Bruce Campbell and obviously Sam Raimi too.
Yeah, I'll watch the Evil Dead films definitely. They're a lot of fun, and this has just completely captured the spirit of it. It's gory as hell. It looks like a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see it. But if we're gonna stick to like just the films and what we've ran down, it was neat to see that DC have a bit more confidence in their properties now, and we're seeing a lot more stuff. But to me, it's got to be Star Wars forever into eternity. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I can get that, but it was kind of like the real scene. But I think as a panel, DC wins, but that's because Star Wars has already had its celebration. It's already dominated its stuff. And
Yeah.
you can't top that behind the scenes video. If you did a behind the scenes video for Batman vs Superman, no one's gonna care.
Mm.
For this, it's something else, and it's so hard as a moment. So I think outlining plans for the future. I think DC kind of just got it there and then. It's a tough one, but I think Fox's was average. We haven't seen enough. Tarantino sounds a lot better. I never really thought I'd talk about him in this, in all honesty, until his panel
Mm.
actually happened. But I'd say it's been a successful Comic Con. The no Marvel bit's a bit odd, but then again, last year they decided to have their own event and release every single film on a calendar.
Mm. Also, it makes a nice change for us not to talk about Marvel news for a change.
I know that would have been a lot longer as well. Could you imagine that?
Imagine if we'd have put this on the main show, like with our review that we've got tomorrow. God damn, that would have been pushing like 3 hours or something, probably.
And pushing that tomorrow, the lack of news now means that we can have a longer in our show, which is a perfect timing because we are doing a. It's not really a review of Pixar, but we're kind of taking you through Pixar, every film they've done, our opinions, what we like, what we dislike. So we're going to get a discussion. I know we spoke a lot about Toy Story, but it's going to be nice to go towards the other ones like Bugs Life or Ratatouille, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
we just a rundown of all their films. Just this discussion on them all basically, and we're gonna try and get through them all as quick as we can.
Yeah, well, we've got probably about an hour longer than we thought now, which is even better.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, would you say that's everything for this Comic Con special?
Yeah, I'd say that's everything. We got through a lot of news. We've done it as quick as we can. I know we've talked for quite a long time on Star Wars and DC and stuff, but that was to be expected. But yeah, I think we got it all covered.
Yeah, and this has been our San Diego Comic Con 2015 roundup. Make sure you find us on Facebook at facebook.com/cinemasavvy and on Twitter it's twitter.com/cinema_savvy and again at Letterboxd on cinema_savvy. And this was the Cinema Savvy roundup.
Yeah, and thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you at the next review.